All right, we're live on YouTube here. Maybe scoot a little over so we'll get centered. What's up, YouTube? We've got Brian Armstrong here from Coinbase and a special guest today, LJ Brock, our Chief People Officer at Coinbase. What is a Chief People Officer? What is that?
That's the person responsible for the care and feeding of the organization and creating a culture that will make us a winning company over time.
Yeah, it's recruiting, HR.
Recruiting, for us, it's recruiting, HR, all our spaces, and just general sort of nurturing of the culture in the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yep, bringing in people, employee development, which we think a lot about here, entire employee life cycle. So LJ has a really interesting background, by the way. He's worked in finance and tech. He helped build out people at Red Hat, the great Linux company, and also at Citadel, a hedge fund. And so you've got both tech and finance, blending both of those. Maybe we can ask more about that later. So anyway, I tweeted out earlier this week, getting people's questions about leadership, entrepreneurship, culture, and would be happy to run through some of those now. If you all have any live questions, feel free to submit it in here as well. We'll try to take some of the good ones. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already. We're trying to put out more good content like this. All right, so let's get started. LJ, you want to ask some of the questions, then we can both.
Yeah, we'll riff on them. So I'll start by asking the question. So I think this one comes from Be Yourself on Twitter. I hope I'm getting that right. And the question is, Brian, if you could travel back in time, what aspects of Coinbase would you execute differently or focus on more?
I think the first one I can think of is hiring, actually. So this happens a lot in entrepreneurship, where in the early days, you're just a couple people sitting around tinkering with some idea, and you're trying to get what they call product market fit, right? And we eventually got product market fit, and the thing started to grow organically. Which, by the way, that's a whole interesting story.
That's another story in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. But when we finally did, I was still stuck in this mindset a little bit too long of like, I still need to be writing all the code. And, anyway, one of our investors came in one day and was like, Brian, what % of your time are you spending on hiring? And I was like, maybe 15% or something. And they're like, this thing is never going to scale unless you go spend like 50 to 70% of your time on hiring and let the fires burn. Like, if you can't bring in somebody else, even if they can only at first do what you're trying to do, 50% as efficiently or something, this thing's never going to scale unless you get more people. So I would focus on hiring sooner. I think maybe one other thing I would do is try to write down our values and our culture sooner.
Yeah.
Because in the early days of a company, you as a founder can just have conversations, with people every day. And if you're less than 150 people or so, you can kind of have enough touch points where you can just lead by example, and that'll be the culture. But beyond a certain size, a company, the employees don't have enough touch points with you as the founder. And so the culture just starts to drift unless you really write it down and articulate it. We actually did that recently, posted it on our blog. If anybody wants to go read that, that's the culture that we're now building across 6 offices. We're getting really clear about what kind of place we want to build.
Yeah, and I think it's, and I think about the time you spend now. What do you think of how much time you spend now on hiring? Because from my perspective, it's a lot. And it's good, and I like it.
Yeah, I mean, my top 3 priorities are probably product, hiring, and helping set a clear strategy and culture. So I'd probably spend 25, 30, like a third of my time on hiring.
We've got a lot of open roles, so we need your help on it.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Let's see what's next here.
Wow, this is another one from Be Yourself on Twitter again. Where do you see Coinbase in 5 years, and what are the steps you're taking today to help realize that vision?
Let's see. So, Coinbase got started by being an easy place for people to come buy a little bit of crypto, and that's still what the majority of our customers do. It's what the majority of our revenue comes from, both across our main consumer app and also Coinbase Pro. Those are the 2 big revenue generating products for Coinbase today. But where I see us in 5 years is we're less about trading, and we're actually helping grow the crypto economy. And what I mean by that is taking all these people who got into crypto, usually doing this solo activity of buying a little bit, and you might come check your portfolio and things like that. But actually starting to connect those people into this economic graph and getting people to actually go use crypto for more things. So you're seeing that a little bit in our efforts already with Coinbase Earn. We're getting soon we'll have the ability for people to do borrow, lend, and do margin trading. So getting some of those other crypto verbs other than buy and sell, like earn, invest, borrow, lend. Those are kind of key primitives in starting to build an economy. But in 5 years, I hope that we'll have it even further beyond that. There'll be thousands of companies that are crypto first. They raised money in crypto. They take all their payments in crypto. They have a global audience from day one because they don't have this kind of bureaucracy of going country by country with different payment methods that most companies have to do today. And we'll actually, we'll have like 1 billion people accessing an open financial system through our products every day. That's my goal in 5 years.
Yeah, and I think you and I have talked a little about this. The other thing I see for us is using these 5 years to be the place where people develop their crypto education, their careers, and they're able to go seed those crypto first companies.
That's
and all
true.
The work we're doing today around the culture and hiring people, I think is going to seed that economy.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that. Actually, there's so many people actually already, the Coinbase Mafia, we call it, employees who've come here, learned how to start a company by seeing a high growth startup, and then they've gone on and done another startup. So there's probably been, I think, like somewhere almost like 10 people now who have left Coinbase to start really successful crypto companies. So I think we're just going to keep doing more and more of that.
That's winning for us.
Yeah, I really want people to learn entrepreneurship here if that's what they want to do next. Or you can be an entrepreneur from within Coinbase. We're building a lot of products. We're going to be a multi-product company that has repeatable innovation.
Yep, super excited to see that.
Cool.
All right.
Live question.
How does one find employment in crypto without having coding experience?
Well, there's a few ways people sometimes get their foot in the door. I actually think this is a really important topic because there's sort of a tech renaissance going on. There's all this wealth creation happening in Silicon Valley, and this is the industry to be in, I think, for the last decade and the next couple of decades. So a lot of people are trying to think about that. I mean, the ways I've seen people do it is we've had people come out of consulting, financial services, government, like regulatory backgrounds, law profession backgrounds, and they oftentimes get their foot in the door in a growth company like Coinbase by taking a role. Like, honestly, there's this great quote that's like, if you get offered a seat on a rocket ship, don't ask which one.
That's right. Just take the seat.
Sometimes to make your first foray into a tech company, you have to be a little bit humble. And it's like, all right, on the other career path that I was on in academia or whatever it was, I would have had something a little more senior, but you're almost taking a lateral move or maybe even a slight step down. But in a fast growing company, there's just opportunities that pop up all over the place. And suddenly, you came in with this entry level thing, but if we see people perform and in a couple of years, they could be running the next thing and really give them that chance to step up. So one other thing I'll throw out there is that there are people who figure out that later in life, they want to learn how to code. And we're really big on employee development. Like, continuous learning is one of our values at Coinbase. And so I want people to come in here and be able to learn whatever they want. There's a lot of coding boot camps now that are really successful. We're doing some effort right now, actually, to teach people, as you know, you've been setting up Android development because we needed to find more of those. So I don't know, what's your perspective?
What I think about for us is in our future of creating economic freedom, we've been really focused on having a diverse workforce. And that means we want to grab people from all different backgrounds and different experiences. And we have a lot of different entry points for people to join the company. They don't have to join just in technology. They can join in a lot of our other teams. We're fortunate to be growing across the enterprise. Mm-hmm. And then to your point, we have a culture where as they come in and learn about how we operate as a company, what we value, and that's really important to us, then we've got a roadmap for how we can move them along. So I think what's great about our culture is just that we want to find people who are interested in helping advance the crypto economy and deliver on Coinbase mission first, and we'll fit the skill set thereafter.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I think we're actually much stronger as a company with that heterogeneous team and people from different backgrounds. It's not uncommon actually to be, when there's a really important decision to be made, we try to have one clear decider, but we capture input from everybody and we do this process for our decision-making framework. But it's not uncommon to have people around the table where it's like someone is from, pure tech and open source. Someone has like created a crypto protocol or like an open source node. There's somebody who worked in finance. There's somebody who worked in government, and someone in law. And like that actually helps us make better decisions. Totally different perspectives around the table. So yeah,
it's great.
All right. Let's see. Oh, another live question here.
Live question from PointFX Omnibus on Twitter. Wow, I hope I might have butchered that one. Sorry. Yeah. How do you plan to provide a level of stability in the careers of your employees and support their aspirations, given the rapid growth of Coinbase and the volatility inherent in being involved in the crypto space?
You want to take this one first? I think this is a good question.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that we're doing. I think one is, first of all, I think we're, again, really focused on finding people who are in general committed to our vision and our mission and focused on the long haul with us. And when we find those individuals and we really focus on that fit from day one, then we know that they're going to be able just to be comfortable going through the ride with us. But then I think secondly, we've put a lot of work into sort of defining career paths for people, starting to talk about, what are trajectories for people? How can we help them develop over a period of time? And we're linking that to our strategy more and more as an organization so that people can think about how they navigate their careers within the context of how our business cycle goes. And I think as we begin to connect those things more and more, it'll be easy for people to, ride through different up waves and down waves with us. And in general, I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things that we've rolled out that I think has really helped create that sense of progress and stability is a leveling system and creating clear guidelines around each of those steps. I mean, by the way, we need to keep improving this and make it even better and better. Right. But I think for our size of company, it's fairly mature. And it's like, all right, I'm a level 5, lawyer, engineer, whatever. And what does a level 6 look like? Okay, that means that I need to focus on hiring and bringing great talent into the org, not just succeeding in my own specific job. So you might work with your manager, create a development plan, and then we do performance reviews every 6 months and just check in, like, am I operating at a level 6? And then have that conversation about promotions.
I think the other thing that's really important for anybody out there thinking about a career in crypto and a career with us is, while there may be short-term volatility, the overall trend is up and to the right. And you're on the rocket ship now and just having comfort with the sort of short-term ups and downs. But over the long term, we really have some great futures for people. Yeah.
I mean, actually, Coinbase has been very lucky in that regard, is that we've always had a really strong balance sheet. We raised a lot of money from great investors. And so, even in the down cycles of crypto, like we might have slowed our hiring, but we were always growing and filling key roles, which was, a lot of people couldn't say that. So I think we had a lot of good planning throughout that process.
Yep.
One other part of this question here is about supporting people's aspirations. This is something I actually want to get even better at because, sometimes things are so busy, you forget to ask your reports about this. But we did one leadership offsite where we went around the table and asked people, what would be a dream outcome in like 5 or 10 years, more like in their personal life too. And I remember one person said, there's this charity that I really want to create that funds an orphanage. And it was like, okay, how much money do they need per year? And so if you had a fund of X size, it would be like, it would just fund that thing indefinitely. And I was like, okay, maybe we can help create that, That's the kind of thing I want people to be able to do once, they're kind of working up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like self-actualize, all that stuff.
That's right.
All right. Another one here from MEG.
MEG, what programming language do you recommend to get started in crypto?
Ooh, okay. So this is an interesting topic. I think there's a couple answers to this. So a lot of the coding boot camps now are using either JavaScript or Python, I think are the two most common that I see. And I think JavaScript is the most ubiquitous language out there that's being used. If you look at like the Stack Overflow surveys and things. Python and Ruby are pretty beautiful languages. They're relatively easy to get started with. Doesn't mean they're actually simple or limited in any way. They're actually, actually the first version of Coinbase was written in Ruby. And I think it's a very elegant language. So those are great places to start. And then typically, you go through the coding boot camps. I'd say once you master those and you want to get to the next level in your career, I mean, we use a lot of Go inside Coinbase recently. That's probably another language that's starting to get a lot of popularity as kind of like a successor to Java. But those are all some of the languages that we've used.
Great. Wow. Let's see. On YouTube from Tharun Katanguru. At Coinbase, how often do you check the crypto memes on Reddit?
I mean, we get a lot of those posted around the office, but we try not to spend too much of our day on Reddit.
I can't say I spend a lot of time checking those out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll send you some of my favorites.
You're some of your favorite ones.
My favorite meme recently is the brain one. I don't know if you see that, where it's like, thinking about problems, thinking about meta problems, thinking about the problem that will help you find more problems. The guy's brain explodes. There's a lot of good content there. All right.
Live on from YouTube, Kalen Sullivan. So you mentioned level 5 and level 6. Can you guys elaborate on how you come up with your employee framework?
This is all you.
Yeah. How did I know that one was going to fall to me? So look, in general, we've worked across our organization to understand where our current population is, what are the skill sets they have, how does that match sort of industry standards. And then we work with some of the sort of standard leveling tools that are out in the engineering world and in all worlds, sort of from a professional perspective, to sort of make sure that what we're doing organizationally is pretty well matched up with what other companies are doing, so that people know when they're thinking about joining Coinbase, there's a common language and a common understanding. Mm-hmm. And we also did a lot of work, I would say, really importantly for us, working through inside our organization, sort of a very open bottoms up calibration exercise, and making sure that our managers and our employees got to really understand our leveling framework and contribute to it and get comfortable with where they were landing on it and how we were thinking about it. Mm-hmm. So I actually think it's been one of the really powerful exercises where we've brought our employee base along with us and helped them contribute to where we land.
Yeah, that's great. And I was just thinking back to the beginning, the intro, we talked about Red Hat and Citadel and everything. I mean, I think those organizations, how big did they get when you built them up?
So Red Hat went from, when I was there, from 2,500 to 8,500 people. So it was quite a journey. Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest difference about a crypto company versus, maybe finance or tech? Yeah, it's interesting. I think what's interesting about the crypto company, and you mentioned this, I think of it as heterogeneous. It's sort of the melding of the two worlds, and it brings so much power. There's so much diversity of thought, diversity of background, and so much energy, because we have a group of people, a lot of people who have grown up in some of the academy tech companies in the world or are starting their careers early in tech. And then we equally have a group of people who have come from some of the best finance companies. And seeing the power of those two skill sets and experiences come together is really energizing. And it means we get to look at problems differently and solve problems with some different perspective. And in other environments, those other two environments, as powerful they were and as much as I enjoyed them, they were more homogeneous, everybody coming from sort of similar backgrounds.
Yeah, got it. Was finance more intense, do you think? Or were people meaner to each other? Or I don't know.
Yes, people were meaner to each other in finance. They were definitely, level of intensity was up in finance compared to Red Hat and open source world.
Yeah, I feel like, we definitely have a high performance culture at Coinbase. Like we work hard, we set pretty aggressive goals. But I'd say it's much more collaborative.
So that's the big difference to me. I think you're right, Brian. I think in the finance world, you tend to see a world where there's high performance, but it's very individualistic. And at least in my experience, at Coinbase, the beauty is high performance, but you really sense how the collaboration plays out, how everybody's trying to help you be successful in your role. Yeah, sort of the best of both worlds coming together.
Cool. All right, we've got a question here about recruiting and hiring.
Yeah, so I'd love to work for you. How can I find a position where I can be an asset for your company? And that's from at Melvin Alvarez on Instagram.
Cool. Well, of course, we have our careers site. Yep. Coinbase.com/careers are the roles that we're really looking for. If there's a fit there, I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. I'm trying to think, is anything else come to mind for you?
Yeah, I think there's a few ways. One is certainly our career site. We keep all of our jobs that we're actively looking regularly posted and monitored up there. I think the other is to really mine your network and see who are the people you might know at Coinbase. And we really value referrals. The people at Coinbase are some of the best people for helping us find other people here. Mm-hmm. And then I think general, just checking all of our channels, keeping up on what we're doing and seeing new opportunities that may happen and being in touch with how your skill set will match that.
Yeah. I think one thing we really look for in applicants as well is a match with our values as a company. So one thing we look for is clear communication, which is about, being succinct and clear and candid and kind. We also look for positive energy, people that just have an optimism about the world, especially like in difficult, challenging situations. The third one is continuous learning. So we're looking for people that are curious and more interested in learning than being right, and they're lifelong learners. The last one's around efficient execution. So we look for people who can get a lot done with a little bit, and oftentimes we check for that in interviews, and those are some of the things that can really help you get a job at Coinbase.
Yeah, and I think too, I got fortunate when I got here to collaborate with you and a lot of other people on the culture doc that we've published, and you just put that post out on Medium with that. And I think for the people out there that really want to understand what it would be like to be at Coinbase and what we're trying to build, like I would make sure that you go out and really read that. And if that feels like it's a fit for where you want to be, there's going to be some jobs over a period of time that'll be a match.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Desmond R. Johnson on Twitter. Brian, can I have a part-time job with Coinbase? What do you think?
I think that we don't have a lot. We have so much work to do. We don't have a lot of part-time jobs. But I would definitely take a look at what we have out there and see if there's something that you think you'd be interested in.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've generally hired people we want people who are all in. I'm not like opposed to part-time work. It's just that there's so much context. It's like a lot of people describe it as drinking from the fire hose when they join Coinbase. So I think we'd love it if people can go full-time.
But glad to hear you're interested, Desmond.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. We might have one more question.
Last question. So the wild card question from that Bonimo on Twitter, and it's just truth or dare ?
I feel like someone needs to give us a truth or dare. I mean,
so my answer to that was I don't know.
Like,
like the way I read that, I thought, well, when I was young, I used to take dare, but now I would take truth.
Yeah. Man, this is a scary game.
Yeah.
I don't know. You want to do one with me? You want to do one?
I'll do one. How about you give me one?
Okay. Truth or dare?
I will take truth.
Okay. Tell me about, let's see. Tell me about a hiring decision that was like the most controversial or, that was really people struggled with, or maybe tell me about the person that you took a risk on that turned out to actually work, like a really tough hiring decision. And what made you decide?
Yeah, let's see. Somebody I took a risk on. So I would say there is a little bit of an interesting one. When I was at Red Hat and early in my tenure there, in fact, on my first day, there was a company-wide get together, and we had an offsite at a kitchen. There was this big cooking event. We were all cooking, and a woman that was just started as a contractor passed out right next to me and dropped on the floor, and so I thought she might never come back and work there again. And then I started working with her for a period of time. She was a contractor, and I thought she was really good. And so she was very early in her career. She had this weird beginning on my first day. She didn't have a lot of experience, but I took a big stab on her to sort of run operations for the HR team, and we were early on. And it was probably like the biggest job she'd ever had in her life, but she just had this great commitment to the success of the company, and ended up being that she had this outstanding trajectory, still at Red Hat today, and is the chief of staff for the chief HR officer there.
Okay.
So it's a good one.
Stretch roll,
and don't just because someone passes out on your first day, that doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to promote them.
Yeah. We've had success with that.
The pass out thing?
No, the stretch roll.
The stretch roll, yeah.
Yeah, those are the moments where sometimes learning really accelerates the most in people's career. All right, so I think we're gonna wrap up. We didn't get to talk about a few other things. We have a raise the bar with every hire kind of motto at Coinbase. If you're not a hell yes, you're a no. We try to teach people a lot in the interview process, just about how to build a team here that's, it doesn't necessarily need to have a ton of people, but every person that we bring in, we want to be a hell yes. And almost sometimes people apply to Coinbase and it doesn't work out on the first try. And I always encourage them, apply a second time or third time, over the years as things change, because our process is designed to, we're okay if we occasionally miss out on a really good hire, but we sort of default to no unless we're a hell yes. So keep applying. That's worked out well for me in my life too.
I agree with that.
All right, so this was fun.
This was awesome. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll bring in other members of the leadership team maybe in the future. Thanks to everyone for listening. We'll iterate on this format, think about how to improve it. Reach out on Twitter if you have any ideas about what we can do better next time. And thank you very much.